Good morning. Thanks for stopping back at the ranch today. I'm Marie, and this is Red Hart Quilts. It's a nice brisk morning in Florida, mid-central Florida. It was 30-something degrees this morning. We took a quick little walk, and then I gathered a couple eggs out of the chicken pen, scrambled me some eggs, and now we're going to talk about making a flower patch. This quilt behind me is called Isabel's Flower Patch. My granddaughter, Isabel, inspired me to make this. It's a sweet, sweet little quilt, just like sweet Isabel. The pattern comes in a little booklet form. It's got a full-size template inside. To make this quilt, you're going to need 3 1/4 yards of your background, and then you're going to need 20 different 1/4 yard pieces of your flowers or your brights or your coordinates. 20 1/4 yard pieces or 20 fat quarters also will work. Inside the pattern, you're going to have your template. When you have your template, you're going to need to trace this to freezer paper. Freezer paper we can get at our grocery store. It's a paper on one side and it's waxy on the other side. The reason it's waxy and the reason we like to use this for quilting is because you can press it on a fabric and it will stay there while you're working with it, and you can peel it right off. It doesn't leave residue, and you can also re-press it onto another piece of fabric. I'm going to take my template. I'm going to use a Sharpie. Sharpie's not going to get on your iron. It's not going to get on your fabric. I just lay my piece of freezer paper over my pattern and I'm going to trace it on. I do not have to be absolutely perfect. I don't have to stay right on the lines, because when we get this cut out and when we get it sewn onto our quilt, we're going to throw it in the washer and it's going to fray. So if we don't exactly get on the line, it's okay. So just have fun with it. Don't fret over it. You're going to do one for each flower. There's a large, a medium, a small, and then the center. That's just the size of a 1/4, so you can even trace a 1/4. This is our medium size. I'm going to take a piece of fabric and we're going to press this onto here, which I've already done. Our 1/4 yard pieces, you would go ahead and press all 3 flower sizes. Oh, sorry, there's something in my eye. All 3 flower sizes, your large, medium, and small, and your center. You want to make sure you get all 4 of those pieces on each color so you can have all those beautiful prints all over your quilt. And you can stack these up. If you're comfortable cutting through 2 or 4, 6 layers, that's fine. Pin them on, cut them at one time. I cut these with scissors. I don't use my rotary cutter with this. We're going back to the old days now with our scissor. Just cut around the line and then keep on going. Cut your flower out. I'm going to cut all the pieces out. If I had these stacked, I would definitely put a pin in here to keep this pattern and to keep my layers of fabrics together. This is just one, so I don't have to have a pin. If I tried to do this with a rotary cutter, it would really not work well. I'd be cutting into my fabric. So just use a pair of scissors. You can use small scissors, big scissors, whatever you're comfortable with. This is a good thing to do in front of the TV. I like to take these if I have to take people to the doctor's appointment, like my mom, is just sit and wait. You can do it in the waiting room. Just cut them out. Peel your freezer paper right off. And you're good to go with your flower. See how easy that peeled off? Once we have all of our flower pieces cut and our centers, we're going to take our background squares. Our background fabric gets cut into 10-inch strips and then 10 by 10 squares. If you have a full 42 inches piece of fabric without your selvages and you want to cut a 10.5 by 10.5 inch square, that's fine too. But I know you can get at least 4 10 by 10s in a width of fabric. So that's what I chose to cut, was 10 by 10. Your flower fits on there very well. I'm going to take my flower. You don't have to press it on, you just lay it on there. You can pin it a few times because you don't want it to move while you're sewing it. Put some pins in. Take it to your sewing machine. we're going to do a 1/4 inch seam all around our flower. You do need to pivot. You're going to be so, stop, raise your foot, pivot it, sew this direction, needle down, raise your foot, pivot it, sew, needle down, raise your foot, pivot it around these petals. It takes just a minute, but it's worth it. Get the big one, sewn right on there. Of course, you take your pins out. And what do we do now? Of course, we press it. Take the second flower. You're going to lay that on top of the large flower. Now we've got the medium-sized flower. We lay that right on top, pin a couple pins, and we go to our machine and we sew it a 1/4 inch around, all around our petal. You don't really want to go much bigger than a 1/4. I did it on these. I tried different sizes and some of them kind of flopped over more, raveled up a little bit more. So I'm going to stick to a 1/4 inch next time I do this. The third flower, the small one, we have our large, our medium. This is our small flower. We want to put it on, put a couple pins, take it to your machine, 1/4 inch seam. Good to go with that one. The last step is to put our centerpiece in. Large flower, medium flower, small flower. Here's our center. We've sewn them all 1/4 inch, and then we've pressed them all. Once we get this done, we're going to want to sew these into rows. So you're going to lay out the colors like you want it. If you want the pink ones, see, I didn't pay much attention to that. I just kind of grabbed them and put them into rows. This one, you can make 6 rows, 7 rows, 6 across, 7 down, 6 across with this much fabric. Sew them into rows. Put your backing on. I quilted this on a long arm. I went right over the edges of my flowers. It did not matter because they're going to ravel anyway. Then I put my binding. I threw it in the wash machine and it came out all ravelly. This is a different pattern. In your master pattern, you're going to have you're going to have 2 choices of your flower. Remember I was saying you have to stop, needle down, pivot, turn, stop, needle down, pivot, turn. This one you do not have to stop as often. You'll see the difference. You get both options in your patterns. See how this is more distinctly stop, pivot? This one you can just sew around without stopping. This is this one. You can see the difference side by side. I just love this one. This was my first one, and then I came up with this one so you didn't have to stop and pivot as much. I hope you'll try both of them before you decide. One other thing that I like to do too, when I sew my petals on my flowers, I start here. You can see a little thread, and then this one I started in the same side of the flower, a little thread, the small one, and then my center. So when I'm done with this, it's very easy just to snip, 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 snip. I don't have to look all over here where my little thread is to snip. That's just a little hint that I found was easier. So anyway, now we have our petals done. Remember we had 3 1/4 yards of background fabric, 20 fat quarters or 20 coordinates. We cut 10 by 10 inch squares, and then we did our freezer paper, ironed it on, cut them out. One by one, we layered our flowers until we were done. Put our little center in. We sewed our rows together. We quilted it. We sewed our rows together. We bound it. Then we quilted it. Threw it in the washer and dryer, and we were done. It's a great quilt. My granddaughter loves it. I hope you'll enjoy it. We'll have it on the website, www.redheartquilts.com. I hope you will try I hope you'll check out my Facebook page, Red Heart Quilts. It's Hart, H-A-R-T for the last name. It's Hart Ranch Road in Central Florida. And then also I have a YouTube. If you would subscribe to my YouTube channel, you can get there, www.redheartquilts.com/YouTube. And until next time, see you back at the ranch. Thanks.